Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Wednesday night hobby hangout. I got a bit sidetracked there. I was too busy listening to the intro music myself. I forgot I was meant to be pressing go on the stream there. How is everyone doing? Hope you all doing well. You may notice I've had a little bit of a shave today. Every now and again, I like to kind of get my beard down a bit because I get kind of like ingrown hairs and stuff like that. So today is that annual day where I kind of trim my beard back a little bit, but it's still me, honestly. Let's have a look and see what we got in the chat tonight. There was loads of people in earlier on. Connor, I think, was one of them. I forget there was somebody else in as well. I saw a few names, but the names that's on my screen here anyway. I've got Blizzard's top of the screen there. It says, break out the grease and slather up them piggies. It's time for some bacon talk. Nice to see you, Blaze. Ortega says he can't stay tonight. See you in the catch-up, mate. Hope you're doing well. Rantin' Badger said he's just here for the greasy pork. I hadn't even considered the bacon chat, I'll be honest, when I decided I was going to be painting gremlins riding piggies tonight, but it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? Ice Moon, thank you so much for the very, very kind donation there. Said he's unable to attend tonight, but consider this my penance, as you can see just there. Here, the most recent super chatter. He had a very nice donation just before the stream started, so carrying on the tradition from Monday, I think. Scott Latham said, I smell bacon, BlackJack Arunos. Welcome to the hog roast. Good evening, mate. How are you? And Tasty Brain Drain says, happy What If Wednesday. What If? Yes. I watched that today as well, and no doubt we'll be chatting about that later without any spoilers. Dave Mackay, hello to you, fella. Jill, good evening to you as well. It's evening or whatever time it is for VJ. And I saw some Australia chat a bit further down there as well. Rantin' Badger saying down in the front. Nigel Jones, good evening, sir. Hope you're doing very well. We all know Australia isn't real. VJ lives in Milton Keynes. I've spoken to VJ like by video camera kind of thing, like when we've been playing some online games. He definitely doesn't have a Milton Keynes accent, that's for sure. Peter Kuhn, good evening, mate. He's in just in time for his last stream before he leaves for Greece, and he's painting the Zulus again. Awesome, mate. Enjoy your little break in Greece, mate. Tol Martin as well. Hello to you. Seems everybody likes a little bit of bluegrass music there as well. Jill says the music of my people. And Andy Smith says, hello, how did you get my ex-wife on your thumbnail? The less said, the better there. I should just say as well, because this is kind of pulling down on the neck of my t-shirt, I'm trying a little bit of something different for the audio tonight. I've got this wireless audio set up, like a wireless kind of lapel mic and stuff. So I'm trying that because what it means is when I'm turning around or if I'm bending down to paint and stuff, in theory, it should kind of keep a constant sound and stuff. But I'll be perfectly honest, I've never really tested it over long periods of time. I've no idea how long the batteries will last on it and stuff. It should last quite a long time. So I assume it'll last longer than the stream. I can see the audio bouncing around on my screen as well. So I should know if it cuts out at any point, I'll just kind of like just take 2 minutes and just go back to the old system. But just as a bit of a test, just to see how this one works out for this evening. Tristan, Tasty Brain says this music makes me want to drink moonshine and talk about them Duke boys. I don't know about moonshine. I've got a little bit of this stuff on the go tonight. Brewdog Lost Lager. I haven't had a drink. I was going to say I haven't had a drink in ages. I was away at the weekend, but I've not had a drink this week. So there you go. I'm having a little cheeky beer with you lot tonight. You know what I'm like when I'm drinking on stream though. By the time the end of the stream comes, it's still about sort of 3/4 full. Ed Hanley, good evening to you as well. Yoakum says, good evening, folks. Jill the Gremlin people. Hope Lives is in as well. Hello to you. Captain Castle's back again as well. Good evening, Captain. How you doing? Peter Mack, hello. He says, kids have taken over my computer and the living room. They drank all the lemonade, so I'm on Lilt Shandies. Oh, Lilt Shandy? I don't think I've ever had one of them yet, but it sounds nice. Marcus there saying, I think I'm going to try and finish my Flesh Eaters ghouls for my Warcry team. Nice one. Good morning, VJ. How are you doing? Vincent VT as well. What, Vincent, you were the other person that was in earlier today. I knew I remembered the name from before. He said his paint shaker's standing in his neighbour's apartment and now he's on vacation. I was looking forward to finally use my army painter colours. Yeah, the army painter ones definitely need a bit of a shake up, don't they? Hello, Mr. Howell. How are you doing, matey? Yeah, Jill said it's much clearer already. Yeah, I had a little kind of sort of I play around with it beforehand and stuff. I think it's just normally when I'm doing the proper Monday streams, I've got like my good quality mic and it's nice and close and stuff, and it picks up a lot. But when I'm here, I use like an old shotgun mic, and if I turn away to kind of talk to like when I'm looking at like the stream chat and stuff, or if I'm turning away to look at get my paints and things, the sound quality is very variable. So I just thought I'd try something different tonight. Peter Stockdale, good evening, mate. How are you doing? Fisher says he'd be fine with living in Milton Keynes right now if it gets me an overseas trip. If you ever get to Milton Keynes, mate, you might think different about that. Peter Nicholas, good evening, mate. He says he's just got in from his 15-mile run. Or a mile walk, anyway, really. That's okay, mate. Any exercise is exercise. Robert Cook says, hi there, everyone. Hello, Robert. How are you doing? Captain Castle says, Brewdog Punk IPA here. Kids and wife away visiting the grandparents, so I'm starting early. Well, in that case, mate, cheers to you, mate. My wife bought me, my little boy, who's 4-year-old, bought me for Father's Day, like a Brewdog sort of selection pack of like loads of different types of beers and stuff. And Lost Lager was one of the ones that I'd never had it before. It's quite nice. It's like, it's not quite as sort of fizzy as some lagers. It's quite sort of smooth. Vijay says, I'll take that under advisement. Me heads over to Google Street View. Yes. So what are we painting tonight? What are we painting? Let's have a look down on the table. Tonight we are painting. I was kind of set up a little bit early, so I started putting a little bit of paint onto this one while I sat. We are painting up these awesome models from Weird Miniatures. Been very fortunate. Weird have sent me this the Bayou starter set out a little bit early. I don't think it's available for another month or two. But yeah, this is the Bayou starter set, and in the Bayou starter. In fact, let me just quickly show you the box so you know what we're talking about here. So this, let me zoom out a little touch. Yeah, light out the way. So this is the Bayou starter set for Malifaux 3rd edition. These are like basically the versatile models, which means it doesn't matter which kind of keyword you go with within the Bayou starter faction, you'll be able to use these. So anybody that wants to play the Bayou faction in Malifaux 3rd edition will be able to use these minis. And inside these boxes you get these 4 pre-assembled, I should sort of point out, pre-assembled minis. You get a fate deck, you get some scheme markers, and you also get a measuring widget as well, which is pretty cool. So let me put that down a second and I will show you. He says, having to zoom back in. That should do it for now. We can always adjust it a bit. Get the light back as well. There we go. So yes, so this one is called Bo Peep, and it is a female gremlin riding on a hog with a wooden leg. So that's the one we're going to be painting this evening. I'm going to have to look on the back of the box actually and find the names out, because I don't remember the names just yet. We've got where is it? Ruffles, the cockerel there. A little gremlin riding on his back as well. And yeah, as I mentioned before, these are all single piece miniatures. I thought it was really cool. He's got the violin there strapped across the back. He's got the gun in hand. He's hanging on for dear life there. And yeah, it looks pretty awesome. And then we also have what's this one called? Fluffernutter, which is a rabbit, which seems a little bit excited. Kind of, and I've printed off these sort of resin bases myself, just to kind of set them off a little bit. But yeah, and I've just basically primed these black and then a bit of a heavy kind of overbrush with Vallejo white, just so they show up on stream really and give me a little bit of zenithal look to them. But yeah, he's another cool one. And then last but not least, we have this one, which is called Stumpy, which is what are they called? I forget what they're called now, but they're basically tree people things. So we've got this kind of like tree person thing at the bottom here, and then up on the top we've got another little female gremlin just kind of riding around on these with kind of like a washing line hanging off the back, with clothes drying in the wind as well as they go. Waldgeist, that's it. Blizz, is it a Waldgeist or a Waldgeist? I always think it should be pronounced with a V, but I'm about to do a kind of like a how to play video with them and I need to know how to pronounce it correctly. That's it, Volgeist, I think it is. So yeah, that's the 4 models that you get in that box. You get the bases. I've printed off the resin bases, but like the base inserts. But you do get the bases, and you get the cards as well to use them in the game. They also are playable characters in Weird Miniatures or Weird Games' new board game, which is called Bayou Bash. I've been sent a copy of that as well. I played a game of it at the weekend. Really had a bit of fun with it as well. So, and I'm going to be doing a how to play video for that very soon, and that comes out at the end of this month, I think, the board game. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So let's have a little look here. Where are we up to? Tony says Milton Keynes is like a set from Logan's Run. Jill says no beer on a school night for me. I take too many painkillers during the week for drinking. Holidays from Saturday though, and the Joker IPA is in the fridge already. Nice one. I must admit I don't really drink during the week. I have the odd glass of wine or something like that if me and my wife are having a particularly nice meal or something like that. But yeah, generally I tend not to bother either. Tiberius says I started this afternoon. I got double booked at work and another staff turned up, so I've been in the pub. I don't blame you, mate. I think that's where I'd be as well. Captain says I have good memories of Milton Keynes. Well, Milton Keynes Bowl anyway. Metallica and Black Sabbath. I saw Bon Jovi, I think, at Milton Keynes Bowl many years ago. Renton Badger says love the new backdrop. Yeah, I've had this for the painting streams for a little while now, mate. But it's just all my painting stuff's kind of set up at this end of the studio. Colin Wakeling, good evening. Blizzard saying he's looking forward to that set. Yeah, it's good quality, mate. I must admit, I'm impressed with it. Yeah, Peter says the figures look quite good already. Yeah, honestly, mate, just like if you want to use them as a board game piece or something like that, I think you could do a lot worse than just kind of dry brush them up like that. Jill says looking really nice, and especially for one piece minis. Yeah, I don't think they're one piece as such. I think they're pre-assembled. So I think they're made in multiple parts and then pre-assembled in a factory somewhere. So but yeah, they are really nice. Tiberius says we'll call those triple. V says yeah, how awesome was What If? I want them to reboot the Agent Carter live action series and make a Captain Carter. Yeah, I would love to see. I'm going to start painting here while we're chatting. I would love to see a Captain Carter for Marvel Crisis Protocol as well now. I really enjoyed it. It started off that series fantastic. I really like the animation style, I'll be honest as well. So what we're painting here with, we've got pink horror. So I'm kind of just really sort of thinned down pink horror, and I'm just building up the layers just to build up some colour, and then we'll start to kind of lighten it up from there. I'm trying to leave some of the recesses so we get a little bit of shading, and we'll just build it up from there. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. We've got a nice little crowd in tonight. I've noticed Weird have actually started doing their own painting streams now. They've obviously got a few painters, and they're kind of they're chunking out the painting streams at the moment. And I think there's one on now, to be fair, at the same time I'm on. So I was kind of thinking, oh, I wonder if sort of, you know, I didn't realise this when I decided I was painting a Weird miniature tonight. So I was wondering whether that would affect anything. But to be fair to Weird, I think that they're just kind of starting out with the streams, and the viewing figures are not that high at the moment. So, and I guess mine's more regular folks, like sort of like regular to this stream. I mean, not regular folks. You know what I mean. So yeah, good luck to Weird. It's nice to see a company kind of embracing the opportunities that they have out there to get their product out on the internet and stuff. Not many companies basically dedicate any time or resources or money even into kind of live streaming and stuff. So yeah, good on them. I hope it really, I hope it does well. Yeah, Blizzard's in tradition with the V. I thought it was as well, mate. Peter says the correct term is tree thingamabon. You're welcome. VG says Haley Atwell is awesome too. So live action, please. Yeah. Tasty Brain says the rabbit that Fluffin is riding reminds me of the rabbit from the Monty Python. It looks exactly like the Monty Python rabbit. I'll be completely honest. That's exactly what I thought as well when I saw it. VG saying hopefully my case of the specialty creaming soda. I bought a rice there. Creaming soda. Wow. Never heard of that, mate. Ed says better than He-Man, then 100% better than He-Man. Me and my wife have played about 3 games of it now, and I really enjoy Bayou Bash. It's that right mix between sort of simple to pick up, enough sort of strategic depth that it doesn't just feel like you kind of, you know, you might as well just flip a coin to see who wins kind of thing. And it's got some nice little kind of, the artwork's fantastic. It's my kind of style, the artwork. But some of the kind of like the text and stuff on the cards, and that's quite humorous as well. Whether the humour stands up after like the 50th play or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's also pretty cool that it's not about who's the fastest around the course that's the winner. It's the person that kind of sort of showboats along the way and earns the most fans by the time they get to the end. And obviously you get more fans. You get a bonus. I think it's bonus 3 fans for finishing first. But yeah, it's we'll have some of it on the channel soon when I get around to kind of filming my my how to play video. Let's just go a little bit further ahead there. I'll catch up. Paul saying, having my first dive into Malifaux tomorrow. I've gone Gremlins, obviously. I must admit, the Gremlins have never really kind of grabbed me personally until I saw these, and I must admit, like there's bags of humour in them, and I could see me expanding this little box out into a little kind of Gremlins faction. I think at the minute I've kind of gone deep into Explorer Society, but I must admit the Gremlins are giving me a nice little warm feeling at the minute. And obviously today as well with the announcement for what's it called, Malifaux on Fire or whatever it's called, Burning, something like that, I forget what it's called. The new expansion as well for Malifaux. It looks awesome and kind of brings across a little bit of the other side stuff with the Burning Man and some really interesting things coming from Malifaux, I think. Vicious says on a sliding scale of Blitzball to He-Man Highlander. On a sliding scale of that, mate, I would say it's up there with Blitzball for me. As far as kind of, I mean, it's a board game. It's not like a miniatures game type thing. It's just a board game. But you could certainly kind of play it with younger players and sort of give them a little bit of help. But once they get the basics, they'll be running rings around you. Ed saying, did the cartoon follow the comics? I've not read the comics, mate, if I'm perfectly honest. Not the Captain Carter ones. So I have no idea whether it follows them, but it's a fantastic story, and it's just, I just love that whole like what if idea, and the way it's kind of shaped up. Especially that as the first episode. The others have got a lot to live up to now, to be fair. So, Peter says, watered down pink horror, just building up some colour, you rhyming devil. Jill says, we've never been described as regular. There's a first time for everything, Jill, eh? There's a first time. Right, I'm going to take a little bit of Emperor's Children, I think. And I think we're going to put a little bit of cream into it as well, just to... Let's have a look. This is what I like about painting kind of one-off minis like this. Is that basically when I come to blend like a pig's skin tone, I'm not painting any more pigs in this box set, so I can mix colours together. I don't have to try and replicate it again next time. Let's see. Let's put a little bit of. Oh, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put a little bit of Cadian flesh tone in it as well, and we'll just try and give the next layer a little bit of a colour shift. VG said, I don't mind the animation style, but it's pretty obvious that it's 3D computer animated with cell shader style applied over the top. I really like it, mate. I just think it suits that kind of cartoon, to be fair. But if you're a purist, if you're a comic sort of an animation purist, it might not be for you, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm just easily pleased, mate. So let's get some of this and mix it into here. I tell you what I might as well do while I'm kind of doing that. I might as well just pop it up on the screen so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just mixing some of this in just to try and get a nice a nice colour. Get a bit more pink in there, I think. Won't be quite that light just yet. Tasty Brains, I was thinking about that earlier today, and maybe buying some Marvel Crisis Protocol figures and trying to kit bash them to make some of the characters from the What If show. It wouldn't surprise me if we start to see them. I mean, as Ed was saying there, there's the original comic book series as well that this is based upon. So it's there for them to pull from at some point. Let's see what that's like. Yeah, that looks okay. I might need to thin it down a little bit, but I like the colour. Just drop a little bit of... I've just got my little kind of dropper bottle here with some thinners in it. I put tea on it because I've got one with water in as well, so it's got W written on. I'll just drop a little bit of thinners into that. Just to thin it out. And then we'll just start building up the layers again. It's not. It looks a bit pink on my screen. I don't know. It doesn't look. It looks really bright on the camera, but it's actually not as kind of saturated as that. I don't think. So, fear not, folks. It's not as awful as it first looks. Yeah, VJ says that would speed up the turnaround on the episodes. Yeah, definitely. Scott's got my Marvel starter set and printed the rules off today at work. Looking forward to building and painting. I've really enjoyed painting the Marvel stuff, mate. I mentioned before, and I've just mentioned now, to be fair, I love the idea of just like not having to paint kind of multiple models the same. Like they're all their own character. They've all got their own kind of color scheme, and I don't really have to put too much thought into it. Really, I just kind of get the paints out and just enjoy it. And like I said before, when I did the Hulk, it was nice just kind of just sort of messing with the different greens, just trying to get mixing them up and getting a nice green color and layering it up and just taking my time and just doing that. And to be honest, this is kind of the same as well. I mean, for all these have all got gremlins riding them. There's nothing saying the gremlins have all got to have exactly the same kind of shade of green skin, if you like. I mean, I'm sure in the gremlin world there's different shades of green skin. So that's what I kind of intend to do with these as well. Really, just take my time. Just like, I'm not saying to kind of like sort of win any competition type stuff with them. I want to try and paint them nice, just for a change, rather than just trying to rush through them and get them done. When I haven't got to churn out like a full army of anything, sometimes it's quite nice just to kind of take my time and try and improve the skills a little bit. I'm not a fast painter when I try and paint a little bit better. And my old eyes are certainly not what they used to be. But yeah, I'm kind of happy with at the minute with how this is sort of starting to come up. I'm just got to try and not get those kind of lines quite so obvious, really. Try and blend them in. But yeah, it's coming together. It's coming. Where are we up to here? VG saying hand-drawn stuff takes too long without getting the bulk of the frames drawn in Beijing. Yeah, to be honest, I was watching something about sort of animation, and I was surprised how much of it gets kind of sent out to foreign studios just to get it done. Like things like The Simpsons and stuff. I think basically they kind of like they come up with the storyboards and stuff and kind of shape it all out, and then it basically gets farmed out to some kind of Far East studio where they basically do the bulk of the frames, and then the kind of like the local teams in America or whatever just kind of fix any errors or anything like that. So surprising how animations change like that. But yeah, I can imagine if a lot of it's computerized now, it also means they get things done a bit faster. VJ saying, yeah, we'll definitely buy a Captain Carter for Marvel. Jill says, careful, it's dangerous getting grabbed by a gremlin. Speaking of which, that might be something to have a crack at sculpting in Blender. God, I don't think I'm quite up to the sculpting in Blender stage yet. I've managed to make a few things. I've made like some sort of like dashboards for games and stuff to put like tokens and stat cards and stuff in. So I'm all right with that kind of bits and pieces. But yeah, I don't think I'm quite at the stage of kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like sort of human looking sort of models. Captain saying my favourite is Molly's crew in Malifaux. There's a new Molly squid page coming soon. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's got a very like Harley Quinn feel about it. I really like it actually. It looks good. So yeah, watch out for that one if you've not seen it. Fishy says here, who's grabbing the gremlin? I've been grabbed by a few gremlins in my lifetime. Just don't put a ring on their finger and you're fine. Scott says, saw a converted Black Widow into Captain Carter on Facebook today, funny enough. I've not seen that, mate. I'll have to keep an eye out for it. James Bray, good evening, sir. How are you doing, mate? Fiji says, yeah, not complaining about the animation style. I quite like that stuff. Just how observing how it's done. Yeah, I agree, mate. I've always loved the What If comics. I only recently found out that What If comics existed, to be honest. I've always been more of a kind of a DC fan when it's come to comics. Marvel was never really my bag thing, but I must admit the Marvel kind of shows and stuff's really sort of changed my opinion of the whole Marvel universe. And I might get into to pick up some of the sort of back catalogues at some point. I do really like them, and this animated stuff's kind of pushing those buttons as well. Where are we up here? How much is it up worth? It looks a bit red. Yeah, I don't think it is on the screen, mate. To be fair, it's a lot less bright. I don't know what it looks really like, sort of bright pink on that camera. I might just need to have a little play with the. I wonder if I put that behind it, does it change it at all? No, it just looks really pink on camera. It's not in real life. I mean, if you think that one there's pink horror, and that one looks really bright as well. Yeah, in real life it's a bit more muted. I'll have to play with the color balance at some point from that camera. In fact, if I put it up to that camera, let me screw across to this one and see if it's not really bright enough for the lights. It's definitely a bit more sort of desaturated than it looks on the painting camera. Anyway, is the Marvel What If thing like DC's Elseworld comics? It's essentially, mate, that basically like it's imagine, you know, all this multiverse stuff's now going to be the new thing. It's like, what if, like, if there was a branching off from a key point in time that we kind of see in the Marvel universe now, and what if something else happened instead? And that's what they're based upon. So I think one of them is, you know, how in the Guardians of the Galaxy, how Star-Lord basically gets picked up as a kid by is it Zandu, I think he's called. In the What If comics and in the What If TV series, I think instead of him picking up kind of like Star-Lord, Peter Quill, they pick up the guy that becomes Black Panther. I forget his name now, T'Challa. So yeah, I think it's that kind of thing, which is pretty cool. Right, let's lighten it up a little bit. I think what we'll do is we'll put a little bit more of that flesh tone into it. Try and blend that in a bit. This is halfway through. Superman Red Sun is one of my favourites. I've seen them, the Red Sun. Batman's my thing, so I like a lot of the Batman stuff. I've been watching the Long Halloween animated. It's been basically split across two different sort of parts. It's about 3 or 4 hours long. It's been really good. Fiji says he's playing his first game of Shadowrun about 30 years today. Look forward to it. 2nd edition, so old school RPG. Never played Shadowrun, mate. I'm not even that aware of what it is, really, to be fair. So, yeah. You'll have to give me the lowdown one day. Right, so all I've done there is that I started off with pink horror. I mixed in a little bit of Cadian flesh tone, and I've mixed a little bit more Cadian flesh tone into it now, and I'm just almost just glazing it, really, just trying to kind of give the skin tone some sort of different look to it a bit. James is saying still not watched that, maybe this weekend. It's saying a lot of them have multiple colour schemes too. On Wolverine alone, you could go classic, blue, gold, X-Force, and probably some more I forgot. Yeah, that's it as well, mate. With the Marvel stuff, I mean, you don't have to paint them, the kind of like sort of canon colours or anything like that. You paint them however you want. But if you just like, if you just want to paint them, like you just want to make them look cool and how you remember them from the comics or whatever, you can pick one of those schemes. You go down here a little bit. As you say, almost 6 a.m. Time to get a green tea and hit the painting table. Nice one, mate. Yeah, Tizzy Braintrain says we ultimately start to draw upon the What If comics. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they're not too far away from that, because I'm sure they must get the heads up. I mean, they had the Captain America Falcon model sort of pretty much ready to go for when the series aired on Disney Plus. So it wouldn't surprise me actually if we start to see some of those things. I'm sure with the contract that they've got with Disney for the games, with both Marvel and with Star Wars, they might get a little bit of a heads up. And I mean, it's not like this stuff's been hidden. It's been teased for quite some time that this was all coming, this What If series, and the trailers have been doing the rounds, so we know what some of them are about. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we see those ones. Where are we up to here? Deep Red says there's an animated version of the Underworld films called Underworld Endless War on YouTube. I watched the first one yesterday. There's quite a few of those kind of animated stuff. There's a new animated Resident Evil on Netflix at the moment that I keep meaning to watch, and I've not got round to it yet. But I like some of that stuff. I like the premise behind the Underworld films. They've not all been strong, but I do like the kind of that whole idea of vampires and werewolves. I've mentioned many times horror is definitely like a genre that I'm a big fan of. So yeah, I like all that kind of stuff. Yeah, VG saying the Simpsons draw their keyframes in the US and get the rest done in South Korea. That's definitely what I'd seen something. I forget what the show was now. I'll tell you what it was. It was that, if anybody watches Corridor Crew on YouTube, they do that kind of like sort of stuntmen react and animators react and stuff. And the one this week was a guy that used to work on The Simpsons, and he was talking about kind of like the history of animation and stuff. It was really interesting, and he was talking about that. I knew it was something I'd seen recently. Visually saying there's an automatic human builder tool for Blender that's very cheap to buy. Build a buff woman, get a hairstyle right and sculpt in the costume. Oh, I didn't realise that, mate. I thought everything was basically done from scratch. Maybe one day. I don't have a lot of spare time at the moment, so especially with the little one being on school holidays, I'm basically pretty much getting nothing done these days. My wife being the breadwinner, she's the one working all day, and I'm the one on daddy duty. So I'm getting very little done at the minute outside of like even today. It was a bit of a struggle today, even just kind of sticking this model on the base and getting it primed, like just to get it ready for tonight. So, but yeah, so one day I might get blending stuff done. Ed says, God loves, man kills, X-Men is a great start for Marvel Comics if you're a DC fan. I might look into that, mate. I'll make a note of that one. Thank you very much. Buildings all auto-generated from parameters. Ah, okay. A little bit like sort of the sliders on a like on a Bethesda game type thing. Tyler Peck, good evening, buddy. How you doing? He says, who's ready for beer besides me? I'll join you, mate. I'll join you in a beer. Good evening, mate. Good health. I realised I was drinking that can there, like a little bit like Donald Trump drinking water. It was because I didn't quite have hold of it properly because I got my brush in my hand. I thought I better hold the bottom as well. Peter says, let's not worry about the brightness of the flesh until we've drunk it in Agrax. I don't think I'm going to be having any Agrax on this one tonight, mate. I'm going to try and just go for sort of painted highlights and shades. But it's starting to come together. I quite like the way the skin's going. Shadowrun is a futuristic RPG sort of blend of cyberpunk but with added magic and shamanistic stuff. It's a lot of fun. We had a small crew run it a year ago. So is it so it's an RPG, it's not, is it, I'm assuming it's like a role-playing game, like sort of like a D&D or role-playing game, not like a video game. Although I think Shadowrun is a video game as well, isn't it? Marcus said he's just watched the new Suicide Squad on HBO Max. Was much better than the first one. I'm looking forward to seeing it, mate. It's been getting some really good reviews, which is encouraging, because I do like James Gunn, and I quite enjoyed the first Suicide Squad. It wasn't that awful. Like, I quite enjoyed it, but I can see why it got a bit of a slating. But I quite like those kind of action sort of popcorn films, switch your brain off kind of thing. I don't mind them. So I know I'm in the minority with that kind of thing. Tiberius says he's made a pig's arse out of that. Thanks, mate. Yeah, tabletop pen and paper. Deep Red says you've got more patience than me, old son, when it comes to painting. Do you know what it is, mate? Generally, I don't. But it sometimes when it's certain models, like if I'm really into the model, or if it's something that I know I'm not going to have to kind of replicate or anything like that, it means I try something a little bit different and just kind of try to not necessarily go to town on it, but just like if I haven't got to replicate it, then it's not going to look bad against anything else. So there's only one kind of pig in this set, so why not just try and kind of practice my flesh tones and things with it and see what I can do. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not a good painter. Like I'm never going to be kind of one of these people that teaches you how to paint or shows you how to do special stuff. I'm sure I've got loads of bad habits. I've mentioned loads of times at some point I would like to get some kind of painting lessons, even just to get the basics right, because I'm sure I do things wrong. Like even just thinning paints, I'm still not sure I really thin paints properly. And I would love somebody to kind of show me whether I'm doing it right or wrong or whatever. So yeah, I'm not a great painter, but I've always painted just for the relaxation, just for the enjoyment, just kind of, you know, just for the satisfaction of like almost just the creative element, like the kind of like when I used to have like my old job, like for all I worked in product development and kind of designing new products and stuff, like it gets to a point where you just know your job inside out, and there's no kind of no creativity needed. You just know what to do to kind of solve a problem straight away. And painting's always been that kind of like sort of just artistic kind of creative outlet for me, whether it was to relax or I just put a podcast on or I put an audio book on. Speaking of audio books or podcasts, I've been listening to something I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, so sometimes I can just kind of get in the zone, and if I'm in the right frame of mind and I'm happy, I'm chilled, I'm relaxed, I can just sit and just plod away like this all night. Really, not because I'm not painting to rush it. Really, I'm not painting to try and finish it for anything. It's just for me, really. It's just for a bit of fun. So yeah, I'm not always the most patient of people. But yeah, painting just kind of zones me out a little bit, really. Best bit of Underworlds is Kate Beckinsale. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, mate. Jill says started out as RPG, but also has video games. I thought it did. Yeah, classic tabletop RPG, late 90s, cross between Blade Runner and D&D. Yeah, I guess late 90s was the era for that kind of stuff, coming off the back of the 80s and stuff. So how's that? That still looks really pink on the screen, and it's much more muted. Late 80s, yeah. How much is Duckworth says, I find watching tutorials sometimes makes me feel like I'm doing things wrong. Lots of high-end painting YouTubers tell you not to use washes, etc. Makes it more stressful. I mean, there's two sides to painting. There's the high-end stuff where if you're really trying to kind of improve your painting and take it up to the next level, and kind of if you're trying to sort of competition painting and stuff, then there are ways to kind of improve, and people will show you techniques and say, don't do this instead, which is fine, because I think it definitely has its place. But then there's the kind of painting that I do, which is like, it's about enjoyment. Like, there's no wrong way to do something as long as you're enjoying it. So, and that's kind of how I paint. Like, yes, I would like to know if I could improve purely just by doing something one thing different. Like, is there something I do that just always ends up being a bit of a problem, and if I learned how to do something a little bit differently, would it be any better? So yeah, of course I want to try and like sort of improve bits, but painting for like 99% of people who paint, it has to be about just for fun. And when something's for fun, it doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's like, I used to play golf. Never going to play on the PGA Tour, but as long as I could hit the ball, it doesn't really matter what it looked like. It doesn't, like, as long as I could hit the ball forward so that I got a bit closer to the hole each time, then that was fine. It was about the social experience of kind of just going around the golf course with friends and stuff, and going for a beer afterwards. Like when I used to go away to tournaments to play like War Machine and things. Like, yeah, I probably didn't play a War Machine to like the right way for tournaments, if you like, you know, to be competitive. I didn't build the most competitive lists, and I didn't kind of like listen to every single podcast and research all the best players and all that kind of stuff. But I enjoyed it. I had a bit of fun. And I think we sometimes get those things mixed up. We sometimes forget actually that it's a hobby. And I know I've said this before, you're probably sick of me saying it, but you don't have to be good at your hobby to enjoy it. You just have to enjoy it, that's all it is. You don't have to be good at it. Yeah. I think if I was constantly striving to get better at my hobby all the time, it wouldn't be a hobby anymore. It'd become something very different. So yeah, by all means, kind of, I'm a big admirer of these folks who can paint kind of to a fantastic level and stuff, and I love to see their work, but I don't aspire to kind of to try and catch up with them, if you like. Yeah, if it's not fun, what's the point? Exactly, mate. Yeah, but you're saying, yeah, I watched the odd painting video for the one tip cheap gains mini painting, but I'm not investing thousands of hours to paint golden demon level. And Tyrese is saying, I think this idea that you must monetize all your hobbies is a pretty toxic and damaging claim. Yeah, it's come from like the whole kind of like a millennial thing, really. Is that if you're spending time doing something, like, you should be getting something from it, and I think in that way of kind of thinking about things, we've lost something in, like, we as humans, like, let's get all philosophical now, but we need to kind of turn our brains off. We need to reset. We need to relax. We need to, like, not stress about kind of day-to-day sort of issues and stuff. And hobbies is how you do that. Hobbies is what makes you, like, having a hobby will make you healthier. Having a hobby will make you live longer, because you, like, if you retire from work, for example, and you have nothing to do, you don't have a hobby, like, people just die from boredom, basically. Right, I'm just picking the green color I'm going to use for the base for this. Let's start with the Strachan green, I think. Or do we go with a war boss? No, let's start with this. I'm all right with this one. Yeah, we're going to keep the skin quite light. Yeah, if you basically if you and I'm a fine one to talk because my hobby has kind of become my job, but it's a bit different. Like, but if you feel like your hobby is a job, like if you enjoy painting and you suddenly decide you're going to be a commission painter because you enjoy painting and you want to make money out of it, but then you end up painting a load of stuff that you would never consider buying yourself, like, and you're not enjoying it, and you're painting the same Space Marine sort of space scheme over and over again, and it's not fun anymore. Not a hobby anymore, then, is it? Like, it spoils your hobby even to an extent. I just find it strange, really. That I know exactly what you mean, Tiberius. You see it a lot online and stuff, like this idea that if you're doing something, you should be trying to kind of get some kind of side hustle out of it. Like, otherwise you're wasting your time. Wasting time's quite nice. Like, it's quite nice to kind of do something that is productive for your mind, but not necessarily productive for anything else. Yeah, VG saying good colour theory and creativity go a long way. I think so, mate. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think I've got colour theory off like kind of down pat or anything like that, but I think I know enough to know that some things work and some things don't. That's on camera, and I think that's generally enough that kind of gets me somewhere in the right direction, really. But yeah, there's like my live streams are never going to be kind of teaching you how to do stuff. They might be teaching you that like there's no wrong way to do it and you should just be doing it for fun. Maybe that's what comes out of it. But really, it's just about getting people to kind of hang out together. Like, I'm enjoying it. I'm in a bit of a chill and relaxed mood when I'm sitting painting. I'm not stressed. We get to just chat and have a community together and just have a bit of chat, a bit of banter, whatever you call it, and just kind of hang out and have a few laughs and talk about bacon and whiskey and the weather and whatever else it is, and just like it's an awesome way just to get people from all over the world in one place at the same time who all share something as their hobby and just kind of hang out. Like, that's the whole point of what these streams are about. So yeah, that's why I'll keep doing them, really. They're never going to be about kind of tutorials or techniques. I mean, if I'm doing something and somebody's interested in what I'm doing, I'm happy to talk about what I'm doing. But yeah, I just find like there's a lot of streamers now like doing painting streams, and it feels like every painting stream has to be about like, oh, we're going to show you some techniques and we're going to show you how to do this, and like sometimes it's actually people just watch streams for a bit of entertainment, a bit of sort of relaxation, just background noise and things. Let's have a little look up here. Captain saying, I think doing it for the love invariably leads to getting better at it, but improvement certainly isn't a goal. I would completely agree, mate. I think the more you do something, the better you'll get. I think I would caveat that with, like I say, if I have a bad habit and the more I do it, the more that bad habit becomes kind of second nature. That's kind of what I'd like to maybe get like a lesson or something just to kind of correct any bad habits. But yeah, you're right. I think if you do something often enough, the whole 10,000 hour thing, you will just naturally get better. And if you don't get better, you'll certainly get faster at it, which I think is what kind of happened to my painting. Tyler saying, I think a lot of folks lose sight in the hobby as far as painting, and sometimes people look down on others if they aren't on their level. So yeah, as long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters. Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's almost like when it comes to playing the game, like there is that kind of divide between, if you're not sort of winning tournaments, then you're a narrative gamer kind of thing. And that's not necessarily the case either. Like I enjoy going to tournaments. Like I like going and playing multiple games and kind of playing against people I've never sort of played against before and playing against armies I've never played against before. Like I like that, but I would never really consider myself necessarily a narrative gamer. Like I don't just play purely just purely for the story. I play because I enjoy the game as well. I mean, it's nice to play the story out and stuff. So I think you get those divides in like gamers, but it seems to come across into painting as well. Like it's almost like even when you have painting competitions and stuff, it's always about like who's the best, which instantly excludes like a lot of people, because some people are just head and shoulders above everybody else, and that's always going to be the case. I mean, by all means, like Marco, I think is a good example of somebody that's obviously kind of aspired to get better at his painting, and his painting is fantastic, and he's not been painting that long, to be honest, and how well he's come on with his painting is phenomenal, really. There's another guy called Gaz Baller who doesn't really come in our streams and stuff, but I know him from Manchester, and he kind of comes in with the top table gaming guys. He's another person who's kind of, his painting just went from like, I'm just kind of starting out, to just like phenomenal levels, and he's doing commission painting now as well. And funny enough, Mark was doing some commission painting as well. But then maybe that comes back to what you were saying about Tiberius, where it's a case of like, you know, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you don't have to necessarily make money out of it. Anyway, I think I'm rambling now. Tony says, I watch YouTube videos, but recently it's been more Luke and Kathy Millett. Yeah, I do like some of Kathy's videos. Luke's stuff's nice as well. I mean, a lot of them are just for the sake of kind of sponsored videos these days. He's doing a lot of 3D printing stuff and basically sponsored from them. But yeah, all power to the lad. You know, you make your money how you make your money. But yeah, Kathy Millett's just, Luke Towan's the same as well. His stuff, it's just so realistic. It's the kind of thing that like people who would never consider sort of making anything like that would sit and watch, just because it's quite relaxing just to see something being created. I remember ages ago about watching somebody kind of making rings, sort of like making rings out of wood and stuff like that, and it's just really fascinating to kind of watch things being created, I think. Captain saying, so being colourblind, I've no hope then. There's a few people are colourblind who are into painting, to be fair. Mark says, as someone who's considered a pro artist, it is all about doing the best with what you have. And a lot of these people who say you need 10 different colours to make one shade of red are full of crap. I tend not to blend any colours. 99% of my models are all painted with whatever colour's in the pot. But when I'm doing something like this, like I said before, when I know I haven't got to try and replicate it again, I'm just kind of playing with the colours. My God, she's ugly. You certainly wouldn't be taking her on a Tinder date, that's for sure. Peter says, everyone knows you die when you paint your last mini. Yeah, hobby, exactly. James Zorm says, painting's kept me sane the last year and a half. I probably would have had multiple panic attacks without the outlet. It's funny that, mate. I mean, do you know what it is? I probably wouldn't disagree with that as well. Like, I went through a bit of a downer patch, like the last kind of sort of 6 to 12 months when I was trying to get out of my old job and stuff. And I think this hobby kind of kept me sane as well. I think just having something to kind of ground yourself on, something to kind of take your mind off things, mental switch off, it's just so important. It's why a lot of folks play video games. Just that like instant kind of transport you away and take your mind off things. Vijay says, God, the idea of painting any Space Marine would make me hate painting. It's kind of random because I quite like Space Marines and I don't mind painting one once in a blue moon, but the idea of painting an army of them just kind of it's a novelty that wears off very quick whenever I've tried. Like I'm alright painting like a kill team or painting like a starter box or something like that, but like some of these guys who paint like sort of 4,000 points of kind of Space Marines, honestly, I couldn't think of anything worse. It would send me crazy. But yeah, each to their own. I'm sure they would hate to be painting a female gremlin riding a pig, to be fair. So we've all got our little foibles. Jill said, I think also a side effect of how difficult it is for younger people to earn a reasonable living in one job these days. The number I've worked with who side hustle to be able to get a flat. I think you're exactly right, Jill. I kind of like it. I think that bit gets missed. It's almost kind of a given now that you'll have something on the side. Like it's something else that kind of brings in a little bit more cash. It might be kind of influencer marketing. It might be kind of sort of extra side jobs and things. All these things like with drop shipping, and everybody's trying to make a bit on the side, aren't they? Plus the world's changed. Like the advent of the internet and fast speed broadband and stuff has meant that opportunities that you ordinarily would have needed, like an office space or a warehouse and all this kind of stuff, they're open to anyone now, like as long as you've got the technical know-how, which I think is fantastic, really. Right, we've got a bit of green skin on there as well now. We'll let that dry a bit. And oh, I just missed that. Just where a tummy button is there, around here. Just kind of patch that bit in, a little bit on the arm there as well. Let that bit dry. I think what I'll do is I'll start painting in those leather straps across there while that green's drying. Peter said, it's a fine line, really. You can monetize a talent if that goes together with your hobby, kudos, but it's not mean every hobbyist should. No, exactly, mate. And it's kind of where I am, really. I kind of, just because you can doesn't mean you should. For a little bit of dryad bark, I think, on the strap. Yeah, just because you can just doesn't mean you have to, kind of thing. What's Marcus saying here? It says dry brushing and basic shading is good enough and sometimes looks cooler. People often ignore the basics or simpler way of doing things. I think sometimes, mate, I think sometimes people aren't good enough at the basics before they try to kind of take things to the next level. And I think that sometimes leads to frustration. And actually, the amount of people that try to do fancy blending and all this kind of stuff, who actually are not that great at just getting the base colours down in the right areas. Sometimes they forget the basics. You can make a mini look really nice just by understanding the basics of just kind of, get your colour palette right. Put your colours in the right places. It's like, so it's nice and it's like neat and tidy. Stick a wash over it, a bit of a highlight or a bit of a dry brush or something like that. You can make some really, really nice looking models. It doesn't always have to be about I'm using that brush. It doesn't always have to be about fancy techniques. Vince, I've painted a single squad. Oh, I did until I jumped off my screen there. Where was that one? I've painted a single squad since I've been back in the hobby from the 7th edition Kill Team box. His wife bought them for Christmas and got back into it. We're never painting a Space Marine. Yeah, I'll be happy again. I know what you mean, mate. Yeah, Tony was saying, yeah, he started painting, always lose interest. I like painting the odd Space Marine, but yeah, I always just get bored of painting the same thing, and I think it's because there's so little variation between them. It tends to just be the screen there. It tends to just be the weapons, doesn't it? Where at least if you're painting an army of other things, there's a bit more variety and stuff. But yeah, thousands of people do it. It's definitely just about personal taste and personal choice. But it's one of the things I love about painting these Malifaux minis, is just like every model's a character. Every model's got its own story, and you're not just painting kind of sort of rank and file grunts, if you like, all the time. Marcus says, my main and only goal for painting stuff is to make people say, "Ooh, that looks cool or awesome," and that makes my day. See, I'm the opposite, mate. The only reason I paint stuff is so that I think it looks cool. I'm not really bothered what anybody else thinks, if I'm perfectly honest, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. But yeah, it's, if someone says that it looks cool, then that's nice, and you know, I appreciate the nice comments. But I came to that realization a while ago that, like, who am I painting for? Because, like, why am I trying to take so long over stuff that doesn't really matter, like, and not enjoying it? I think that was the crux of it. There's nothing wrong with taking ages over painting something if you're enjoying it. But I wasn't enjoying it. All I wanted to do was get it finished. And I think once I kind of had that little light bulb moment of, actually, who am I painting for here? Things just fell into place. But it took me a long time to kind of realise that. Where are we up to here? Yeah, I satisfy an artistic itch, yeah. Tony says, my worst experience was getting some really harsh and nasty comments for not painting the GW studio where it put me off going to GW stores. It's a weird thing, that. I mean, I must admit, I've not spent a lot of time in GW stores, so I don't know whether that's common across the board or whether it's something that just happened in your particular store, mate, or what. But yeah, I mean, painting that kind of heavy metal studio style, I think everybody kind of almost aspires to that, because that's really, they're the only people that really kind of try to show you, like, a step-by-step guide, really. Most places want to show their miniatures off to the best that they can, so they get some kind of fancy professional painters to paint them up, and very few of them will take the time kind of actually show your average Joe on the street. Actually, you know, it's probably not going to look like that. So if you just take your time and do it like this. Best painted mini is the painted mini you're playing a game with. Yeah, the best painted mini is the one that's finished, mate. That's how I like it. Yeah, Connor says, I think Guy at Midwinter Minis has colour blindness. Yeah, I think he does, mate, yeah. Oh, Jason is as well. Jill says, Luke Towan's new video this week was amazing. Always make time to sit down and fully focus on his. Yeah, Luke Towan's is just on a different level. It used to be like Boulder Creek, something, wasn't it? But it's just called Luke Towan now, I think. Dave says, I've just undercoated a Raccoon Warband. That's my painting done for the night. Nice one. Tiber says, I followed the old GW paint recipe for Lord of the Rings elf cloaks. Had 5 colours at ratios of like 1 to 3 to 5. So doing the mix. Finished and noticed the colour was a match for a German uniform. Jill says, yeah, when I come to realise I'm needing a video, gaming and painting in the evenings is helping me through work these days. Yeah, can't imagine not having hobbies. Yeah, it's like, where are we up to here? Yeah, my wife doesn't really have, like, sort of a lot of hobbies, if you like. She's got, like, some shows that she likes to watch and things, and she's quite kind of, like, social as well, like, or sociable. She's got like a tight group of friends that she spends a lot of time with, and she exercises, like, they kind of like fitness and stuff is her kind of hobby, if you like. But she doesn't have anything that's just like sort of switch your brain off, if you like. I guess her exercise is that she's like, she can tell, like, her own mental health is way better, and she has a lot less kind of like sort of stress at work when she's exercising regularly. Right, that's the brown on there. What do I do for the hair on it? I think it needs to be kind of creamy, but I think I want to start with a darker colour, I think, and then bring it up from that. Not that brown though. I think we'll go with a bit of a different brown. Which one should we do? I think we'll go with a bit of Mournfang brown. No, we'll not. We'll go with. What we'll go with the Catachan flesh onto the hair part. So all this stuff kind of on the back and the tail and around here, and then we'll stroke in like something like Screaming Skull or something like that to brighten it up. Tyler says, trying to decide my next project. What's the options, Tyler? What you fancying doing? Tiberius says, mine to check out Andy's OnlyFans. Hey, you got to make a pound or two somehow, mate, haven't you? Andrew Fairbanks, good evening, mate. Dave says, it's a sad state of affairs when people need to monetize their hobby to buy a house. They'll all end up mad. Tell you what, mate, I think it's just times have changed. I mean, like my oldest lads are 19 in November. They're about to start university in September, and like I kind of feel for them, really. Like, you know, for the future. Like, what does the future hold for them? It's like the chances of them affording to buy a house. I mean, it's not as bad in the northeast, I'll be honest. Like, house prices are not crazy like they are kind of further south in the country and stuff. If they get a half decent job, you know, they'll be able to afford a house at some point. But it's going to take a lot of kind of support from like me and their mum and grandparents and stuff to be able to kind of help get them on the ladder. I'd hate to be kind of like living down south where you need like $100 grand deposit kind of thing before you even get started. Dave says, dry brush 3 more puffs at lunch today, nothing else, and I think they look good. Worked out about 10 minutes a piece. You know what it is, mate? Honestly, I've done that before, where I've just base coated something and I've put a wash over the top of it or something, and I've thought, don't need to do anything else. Excuse me, my throat's drying out. I don't need to do anything else, that's good enough. When it's done, mate. I think like 90% of the painting hobby is knowing when to stop. James says, I decided to paint these carnival miniatures faster than usual, 1 per night rather than 3 nights per mini. Very satisfying. I actually look more than they spent some age. Do you know, I went through that phase as well when I intentionally tried to speed up a bit. And actually I found what it did was it stopped me procrastinating. It stopped me kind of trying to do too much. And there was a lot of the time instances where I actually felt I'd done a better job. Your carnival stuff, mate, looked fantastic. I didn't realise you'd try to speed up and do them sort of a bit quicker. They looked like you'd spent a lot of time on them and you'd done a cracking job. So yeah, you should rightly be proud of them, mate. I certainly would be if they were mine. Just nice to see people just painting, just having a hobby and kind of chilling out. The world's a stressful place at the best of times. We all need a bit of escapism. Tybee says, that's why I love Surastro. His videos go in stages so an absolute beginner can follow and stop after the first stage. Yeah, I must admit, Surastro's videos are very, very good. There's very few of the kind of higher end painters who cater to kind of all levels. And he does, whoops, I get a button screen for you there. He does do a very good job of that. I guess he's just not as prolific as some of the others who churn them out kind of week after week. But yeah, he's got a nice kind of approachable style. Mind you, when he does go to that kind of the next level stuff, I must admit, at that point I just think, nah, it's not for me now. Peter says, one of the reasons I bought Dark Angels, they're just a tad more unique with their robes and stuff. Yeah, I get that, mate, actually. I do quite like the Dark Angels minis with their robes. It's a shame that I mean, Space Wolves are a similar thing as well. Although these days Space Wolves are just pretty much Primaris Marines now, aren't they? Captain says, going to have to call it a night, another chilled evening. Thanks for the chat. You are very welcome, mate. Thank you very much for coming in. Nice to see you again. Take care. Hopefully see you again next Monday. Right, so as I said before, I'm putting this kind of mid brown just on all the parts that are like hair on the hog. And then what we'll do is we'll get like a lighter, like a bleached bone or a screaming soul or something like that, and or a Zandri, not Zandri dust, sorry. What's the colour I'm thinking of? Yeah, maybe a Zandri dust actually. Or Shabbaty bone, I think that's probably what I was thinking of. Something just to kind of, to start to pick out the sort of the individual hairs and give a little bit of depth to it and stuff. Yeah, that'll be a little bit of hair on the face there, around here. Scroll down the chat here a bit. James says zenithal primer and contrast paint's very satisfying. There's a not YouTube, sorry. There's a Facebook group called Contrast Painters that's got about 9,000 members in it, and some of the paint jobs that folks do in there with just using contrast paints is phenomenal. It's just about kind of getting used to using them and stuff. They're not for everybody, but yeah, you can. They're certainly not like. They're not just this kind of like sort of slap it on and you're done type of thing. You can get some really nice effects if you know how to use them. And again, that's just something else that it'll fly. Something else that can just takes a bit of practice and a bit of effort as well. Tyler Peck says Hairdrakers, Mad Mob, or Canines Reapers. Which do I paint next? I'll be honest, mate. I don't know what each. I don't know what they are. If I'm honest, I can't advise. I should say. She's got a splotch of green on that metal, green skin next to it, and yeah, reflection. Look at me doing true metallic metal. There you go, man. You're flying, buddy. Flying. You've got some minis from Go Chosen, so those characters, those are my top three. Are they all Go Chosen, mate? Are they all Underworlds, Warbands? The names don't ring a bell to me. Peter says problem most of the time is they want the biggest house, the newest. Yeah, do you know what it is, mate? I've had those conversations with my lads as well, and it's tough because when I was younger, I used to spend money on fancy clothes and big TVs and sort of. I didn't necessarily want that kind of like a new car, but I wanted like, you know, I had like sort of fancy sound system and speakers and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of get why kids want nice stuff, but I definitely think the world's changed a bit when it comes to kids wanting nice stuff. They almost like there's almost an expectation on them to have nice stuff and have a big house and all that kind of stuff. But it's not until you get older and you've been through all that you realise that it doesn't mean anything, and you know your life doesn't suddenly become any easier because you've got a big house or you've got a flashy car or fancy clothes or anything like that. But you almost have to kind of like go through that yourself to appreciate it, unfortunately. Like if I tell my kids that, they just think that like that's just dad doesn't want to spend any money. But yeah, it's when I decided to kind of to stop doing my old job and start doing this full time, I really had to kind of like look at what I spent and basically like sort of cut my cloth accordingly, as they say. And it was such an eye-opening and kind of enlightening experience to kind of realise just how much I wasted on stuff I didn't need. But yeah, thought-provoking stuff. Jill says, Tiberius says, I do agree with Sarastro. Wet blending on a model should be a beginner technique. I don't know, mate. I don't think you have to. That's the difference. I think beginner techniques are things like the basics. If you're a beginner at painting, you should just understand the basics, and then anything on top of that is intermediate or advanced techniques. I think wet blending is just like I don't do any wet blending. So it's not like you have to do it. I mean, I might do it accidentally, but it's never an intentional kind of thing that I'm trying to do. Um, yeah, Peter said I've painted over 6,000 models and never wet blended anything. Yeah, I don't think I have. Peter says I'm all for splurging on ridiculous stuff in your younger years at your first job. I did it as well. Live a little before you settle. Yeah, there is that as well, mate. I think the problem is sometimes people like end up living beyond their means, and then it's very difficult to get out of that situation. But yeah, you do have to kind of learn from your mistakes. You sometimes have to make them mistakes to be able to kind of to learn from it. Right, we're going to give her a pair of denim shorts now. So I think we'll start with a bit of a grey blue. I think a darkish one. What should we go with? What should we go with? There's all my blues. Let's start with a Cantor blue, I think. James says, big house, big property tax. I'll happily pass and stay in my comfortable home. I think I think it affects everybody really. Like, no matter how old you are, no matter how much you earn, people always want like something else. I've personally kind of learned to not really into kind of material stuff so much these days randomly, but it's something I kind of had a bit of a light bulb moment myself one day really. I think I've mentioned this before. I was kind of like listening to like sort of audio books about Stoicism and kind of basically kind of like learning to not really give a toss about things, but let certain things kind of wash over you, and like don't let everything bother you. Cause as I mentioned before, like when I was in my old job, I wasn't really I wasn't in a good place, and yeah, there was a whole story thing about like, it was one of the examples was basically if you were in the zombie apocalypse and you woke up the next morning and there was only you left on the planet, and you had access to kind of to all the big houses and all the fancy cars, and like everything was there, like you could just have whatever you wanted. But basically you'd go through that kind of period of like, oh, I'm gonna live in a big house, and like, and I'm gonna go and sort of like live in a mansion, and I'm gonna get a sports car and all this kind of stuff. But then very quickly what you realize is that you need certain things. So like, rather than living in a big house that you basically have to try and kind of sort of look after or clean or maintain or whatever, you find like a smaller space that's just easy. It's comfortable, but it's easier to kind of like look after, and you end up like getting a truck or something like that, because it's more sort of usable for like picking up food and kind of picking up supplies and taking stuff back. And when it comes to like clothes and things, like instead of wearing fancy clothes, you just wear practical stuff that's kind of warm or comfortable or whatever it is. And the whole thing was about that. Basically, sort of most of what we spend our money on when it comes to material things is about impressing other people, or basically trying to show other people how much money we earn by like look at me, I can afford a nice car, or look at me, I've got a big house, kind of thing. And whether you realize it or not, I think that was kind of what it boils down to a little bit. And I just thought it was quite an interesting kind of concept. So yeah, where are we up to here? Moose eating, hello mate, how you doing? Says, good morning from the future. I'm listening to your soothing tones as I drive to work, as I often do on a Tuesday and Thursday morning. Good morning, Moose. I hope you are very well, mate. I hope you're keeping well, buddy. Right, just going to build up there. These little blue shorts. I think we might have to darken this down a little bit. I don't think I've picked a dark enough blue for this as a base for it, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. Right. I think we'll give her a pair of black boots. See what we'll go with the Corvus Black. They've got like a nice grey black to them. Has my chat stopped or has everybody just gone quiet? Somebody type something so I know it's still working. Right, so yeah, we're going with the Corvus Black. Corvus Black is quite a nice colour because it's kind of grey. Thank you very much. Kind of went off on a tangent there, didn't I? I thought everybody had just got sick and went home. Yeah, everyone's painting. We're plotting something. Yeah, too busy. Everybody's chilling. I'm all right with that. As long as everybody's having a good time. As long as you're all kind of hanging. How we're doing? We've got like 40 odd people. That's not bad for just a hobby hangout. The numbers are always a bit quieter. The Monday nights have been doing all right lately. We've been getting over 100 people again. I think the novelty of people not being in lockdown is kind of wearing off a little bit now. Some people are just kind of getting back to their normal routines. So yeah, I'm just blocking in there. Just got like sort of like little pit boots on there. Just block them in. I'm also going to give her black hair as well. I was tempted to give her kind of like bright hair, but I think she should have dark hair. I don't want it to be the focus of the model. Peter's saying there about that mini subscription culture is pretty bad, like Netflix here, streaming service there, it all adds up. It does add up, mate, but you know what it is? Like I think we pay for like Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Plus. I don't do any music streaming services. But that's all I pay for. So I don't have Sky TV, for example. Like anybody that pays for Sky TV is paying like over £100 a month. Like for some of those kind of packages and things like that. Like I find Sky TV massively expensive, bearing in mind there is so much stuff kind of out there that I hardly even watch kind of like terrestrial TV. I might put the news on once in a blue moon, but like, so yeah, so I know what you mean about it. It does all add up. However, for me to have 2 or 3 streaming services is still way cheaper than if I was to get like a Sky TV package or something like that. Plus the flexibility of sort of being able to watch it on multiple devices or around the house, or even when I'm traveling or anything like that. Where are we up to here? Mark is saying, don't forget to drop a like. That would be very kind. Thank you very much. Please drop a like. Jim says, thanks for killing the last hour at work for me. Time for the drive home. Drive careful, mate. Safe drive, and we'll speak soon. Deep Red says, what do you call a fly with no wings? A walk. Proper dad joke coming out now. VG says, I'm looking forward to getting an official diagnosis on my adult ADHD and get some proper treatment after struggling for 44 years. I tell you what, mate, it's you'd be, well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but it's unbelievable how many people are sort of getting adult diagnosis now. There's a lot more understanding about that kind of stuff now. And I appreciate some people will say, well, it doesn't make any difference when you find it when you're older, but it does. I think mentally it allows you to kind of put some things into perspective. So yeah, it's hopefully you get you get what you need soon, mate. Tim, hi Andy, just assembling some Saurus Knights over here. Hello Tim, how are you doing, fella? Nice to see you in the chat tonight. ADHD. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was wrong, mate. I'm not there. Tony says I don't use streaming services. I can't afford them and can't work out how you put them on your TV instead of my mobile. You generally may either need another box like an Amazon Fire Stick or something like that, or if you've got like a relatively new TV, a lot of them have like sort of smart TVs where they have all the apps on the TV. But sort of, yeah, I mean, it's I think they're good value if you're using them. The problem comes is when you don't use them, and then you're basically just paying every month for something that never gets used. That's the that's where they become expensive, because people forget to cancel them. It's starting to come together. But she's got a whip in her hand, doesn't she? What colour is it on the box? It's kind of brown on the box, isn't it? Oh, she's got black gloves on as well. I don't want to paint her with gloves on. Yeah, I think I probably should, because she's got like things around her wrists. So we will paint gloves. Make sure that's on the screen there. Tony's saying it's still difficult to get adult diagnosis in the UK. The doctor's view is, what's the point? Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, mate, to be honest. I think the problem is like it's all right saying what's the point. I mean, it might be what's the point for the doctor, but it's quite an important point for the person that's kind of been struggling with some issues. And I think, like, I mean, whilst you don't always need to label everything, I think even just having some closure and understanding why some things are the way they are, it can certainly help families. Because I think some people get a bit of a hard time from it. I used to give my lad a hard time for his writing and stuff like that, and for like not paying attention to things, to detail and that, and it wasn't his fault. Unfortunately, it was, you know, I'd put it down to laziness and stuff like that, and that just wasn't the case. So I think it is important. Like, he didn't get diagnosed until 16, so it is important for people. Dave's saying no long-term contracts with streaming services either. Exactly, mate. I mean, what we tend to, every now and again, we'll kind of cancel Netflix for a while, because we'll kind of watch all the new shows. We'll kind of run out of things to watch, and we'll just cancel it for a bit and wait until all the kind of catch up with a load of new shows that we'll then go and watch again. And like, we'll do the same with Disney, to be honest. I think I subscribed to watch this second season of The Mandalorian, but I waited until the whole series was there to watch it, kind of thing. And then that gave me a chance to catch up on things like WandaVision and bits and pieces as well. And then we cancelled it. And then my little boy was kind of got into like The Lion King and stuff like that, some of the Disney stuff. So I think it was when the nurseries closed down again, we subscribed to Netflix again. Not the Netflix, sorry, to Disney Plus again. So because it was cheaper, was it like £6 a month, £7 a month, something like that? It was cheaper for that than it was to kind of rent a copy of kind of like The Lion King or something. So they've got their plus points. And then I kind of got into watching all the different Marvel series and things like that, and watching Loki, and I've been enjoying it. For me, it's been value for me. But yes, as soon as I run out of things to watch, I'll just stop it. And like you say, like with Sky, you sign up to 12 months, don't you? And all of a sudden you're tied in. But yeah, sorry, I was talking before about like an audiobook podcast thing. So when I was at UK Games Expo, Ryan, who's sometimes in the chat, I don't think he's in tonight, put me onto it was a podcast, like a BBC podcast, but it was based upon what's it called, like Lovecraft type stuff. I'll tell you what, let me check on my phone and I'll see if I can find out what it's called again. It should be in my podcasts. I can find it in the library. I mustn't have saved it. That's what it was. The Lovecraft Investigations. So I'll put it on the camera there so you can see it. And it's basically it's a podcast, but it's recorded as if it's as if it's people making a podcast about these investigations that they're kind of like they're doing like sort of like unsolved crime things, which end up becoming like some kind of sort of Lovecraft inspired story. And I've not really listened to a lot of Lovecraft stuff, and I must admit I've been really hooked on them. There's like three series, like 3 separate stories, and they're spread out over like sort of like 10 episodes and stuff. And I've really enjoyed them. I listened to one when I came back from UK Games Expo, and I've been sort of listening to the other ones on a night time when I've been heading off to bed and stuff, and I'm really enjoying them. Yeah, VG's in audio drama, like it's really happening. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, a bit like War of the Worlds. It's exactly like that. It's like they're recording a podcast, and what they do is as they're basically kind of researching these stories and stuff, they record all of their conversations so that they can kind of like make notes and kind of cut bits out for the show and stuff like that. And that's how you kind of like get the audio of the story. So when they're wandering around a place looking at something, and they've always got like an audio recorder on them, which is like picking up the conversations, or if they're interviewing somebody, they're recording the conversation so they can sort of cut bits out for the podcast. It's just really, really clever how it's done. Yeah, really enjoyed it. DJ Rockford, hello. No, it wasn't his Dark Materials, mate, but I've heard of that, but I don't know anything about it actually. Lovecraft Investigations, yeah, that's it. Oh, VJ saying it's great, he's listened to it as well. Yeah, Tim saying that sounds interesting. And Tony saying, yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, I'd never heard of it, mate. Like I say, Ryan turned me onto it when we're at UK Games Expo, just sitting having a cup of coffee and a chat. I would never have found it otherwise. So yeah, I just thought I'd kind of pass that on as well. Deep Red saying, Lovecraft, baby, Lovecraft. It's a set way back in the middle of a field. But I've also, because of listening to that, I've gone back and started watching Lovecraft Country now as well, which I didn't, for whatever reason, I can't remember. I watched the first couple of episodes and then kind of forgot about it and never went back to it. So yeah, I've started listening to that again now. Let's go with a bit of Wazdaka Red. I think we'll give her some nice sort of some nice red bow in her hair. Daisy, catch you later, and need to get up in the morning for work. Take care, mate. Hope work's not too stressful for you tomorrow. Have a good day, and thanks for joining us this evening. Yeah, Tim's saying thanks. I'll check it out. I enjoy Lovecraft. Yeah, it's I would say the second story is probably the weakest of the 3, but it's still a good story. I still enjoyed it. So yeah. But no, I'd never even heard of it. It's interesting because Malifaux's got that kind of, there's a bit of Lovecraft feel in Malifaux as well, with the kind of sort of things coming from the other side and portals opening up and strange things happening. I love the Malifaux stuff. And yeah, if anybody doesn't listen to the Malifaux podcast, the Breachside broadcast, which has got the Malifaux stories on it, that's really that's done really well as well, and I would 100% recommend listening to that. A little red bow in the pig's hair. I'll brighten that up a little bit in a bit. And we'll give our gremlin some nice red lips. It's like putting lipstick on a pig, as they say. James says, I really got into Welcome to the Night Vale a few years ago, a fiction podcast where every conspiracy is true. It's like a local radio station from the US in a town with weird happenings. Oh, I'll have to check that out, mate. I'll have to look out that one. There's a one which I also like listening to, which, if I can find it now, the other one I sometimes listen to is this one as well, called, is it on my screen there? There we go. Let's Read. And it's basically kind of like, it's kind of like scary stories really, but they're all kind of based on, like, I think it's like stories that people post on Reddit, and then they kind of like, they read out like sort of on the podcast kind of thing. And yeah, there's some nice nice creepy stories in there as well. I quite like that kind of stuff. Scare myself before bed. Damn, you beat me to the lipstick on a pig comment. Right. Is there any other bits? I think we should do that bow as well on the back. I think we really need to brighten up this red, though. It feels that this Wazdaka red's quite a flat red. We'll need to get a bit of orange in there, I think, because otherwise it's blending into the pink a little bit at the moment. Connor says, I like listening to the Explore series on YouTube. The SCP stuff is really well done. I'll have to check that out, mate. Ed Hanley, time for bed, mate. Take care. Thank you for coming to stream again. James is saying, if you try Night Vale, have a look at their website, as they have a newcomer's guide. Highlight the best of. There's 150 plus episodes. I need something, to be honest, with a bit of a back catalogue, because the stuff I'm listening to at the minute is all kind of like, I've basically listened to all the back stuff, so I'm hanging around waiting for new episodes to come up. And I listen to a podcast basically every night. So I sleep with, I've got my like Apple iPods, and I sleep with them in every night. If I don't kind of listen to something, then if I'm sitting just in silence, my brain is kind of working 10 to the dozen, thinking about a million different things, and it kind of keeps me awake. Where if I listen to something, it just kind of soothes my brain, calms it down, and like I can drift off to sleep with a bit of background noise, really. So yeah, so I listen to podcasts or audiobooks every night. So yeah, any good recommendations? I'm always happy to have good recommendations. Yeah, we definitely need to do something with that red. It's far too similar to the pink at the moment. It's coming along all right, that, isn't it? It still looks really pink on the screen, but kind of happy how it's coming together. Right, we'll let that red dry a bit, and then we'll come into it. I think what we'll do in the finer tip, I think, for this bit. That's it. Welcome to Night Vale. My friend has the whole thing from the subscription. I'll have to write some of these down. Night Vale will be good, sleepy podcast. Might have some mad dreams, so I'm alright with mad dreams. I never remember my dreams, mate. I can tell that I dream on a night time, because I kind of like, I think I wake up knowing that I had a dream, but I very rarely do I ever remember what it was about. The last dream I can remember, I was randomly at a dinner party with, is it Tika Waikiki, who's the director of the Thor Ragnarok film and stuff, did Jojo Rabbit. Randomly, I can't remember, I'm saying this out loud now, but I was at a dinner party and he was sat next to me, and he tried to kind of introduce himself, and I said, oh, I know who you are, and somehow really upset him, and the rest of my dream was me trying to kind of apologise and make up for the fact that I'd upset him by basically just saying I knew who he was, and I've got no idea what that dream means. And I hadn't even kind of watched anything with him on TV. For whatever reason, he was in that dream. But yeah, but I very rarely remember a dream. purple wash, Tiberius says, to separate them out. We'll have to do that, mate. We'll have to do that. Marcus is saying, I say that Lovecraft is not for everyone. Like one of my friends, Lovecraft is totally lost him because he doesn't get that humans are not the best thing ever and will ultimately lose. I quite like, I'm just saying, I'm really just starting to kind of get my head around the whole Lovecraft thing and about this kind of sort of understanding what it's about. But yeah, I'm finding it interesting, that's for sure. Right. So let's see what we'll do then. We'll take Tiberius's advice there. I think I've got a purple wash here. I've got Caribou Crimson. No, I haven't. I'll have to just see what I'll do. I'll use a little bit of thinned down contrast, I think. Yeah, that's the fella, the New Zealand guy. I have no idea where that dream come from, why it was even in my head. Completely random, mate. James says, my superpower is sleep. I usually fall asleep within a minute. To be honest, once I start listening to something, mate, I do fall asleep pretty quickly. But I need kind of, my brain needs to be kind of in the right frame of mind. I need to be kind of sort of zoned out. Right, I'll try just to put that wash over there just to kind of pick that out a little bit. Have a listen to SCP-3333, The Tower. It's a good bedtime story. I'll have to have a look at that, mate. Thank you for the recommendation. Check my sound's still working. My microphone hasn't died yet. Bliss, I'm rather a big fan of the cosmic horror genre. Cosmic horror? I don't think I know what that is, mate. Marcus says, I always remember my dreams unless I have an insomnia, then I get horrific nightmares. Luckily, I only have insomnia every other year and basically get 14 hours of sleep over 6 days. Wow. I don't think I've ever had I've had sort of nights when I've struggled to sleep, when I've had something on my mind or something like that. But I've never really had kind of sort of bad insomnia or anything like that. Yeah, I generally don't dream. Oh, sorry, I generally don't remember any of my dreams. Which is why it's really weird when I do remember one. Right, I'm gonna go with that. Oh, there's a little there's a few bits of things to do. Right, I think actually, you know what it is? While I've got that purple out, I'm going to use that purple for the feathers down the side. Lovecraft is cosmic horror. I've never heard it referred to as that before. David Gamble, hello mate. He says, Yank here with cousins from Yorkshire. You sound a bit like them to me. Are you from the north or is it just my untrained American ears? I am from the north, mate. I am from the northeast, so I'm a bit further north than Yorkshire. I'm up on the northeast coast. So sort of, how could I describe it? If you're coming out of Scotland along the east coast, I'm about kind of a half hour's drive from the south sort of border of Scotland. So yeah, definitely northern, mate, but a bit further north than the Yorkshireman. David Gamble says Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle, mate. Sorry, I'm assuming that you weren't that familiar. Yeah, Newcastle, mate. Like the brown ale. That's generally when I've been across in America on holiday, and I've spoken to folks and they say, "Oh, whereabouts are you from?" Because no disrespect, but most of the Americans I've spoken to on holiday kind of know London, and that's about it. So yeah, the easiest way to explain it is where the brown ale comes from. Jacob says, what all constitutes a proper English breakfast or a full English? So what tends to be on a full English is sausage, bacon, egg, be it scrambled or fried or poached. It will have baked beans on it. It will have tomatoes on it. It'll have black pudding on it. Hash browns. Is there anything missing from that? Bit of toast. Generally, that's it. Sometimes, randomly, I think, as you go a bit further south, they sometimes have chips on a full English, but you definitely don't do it in the north. Yeah, did I say black pudding? Definitely black pudding as well would be nice. James says there's something so unsettling about the idea of these ancient eldritch gods that you feel like Lovecraft was onto something. Yeah. Tony says a coffee and a cig. Vigi says there are worse things to associate where you're from than brown ale. You're right, mate. I used to work for the company that makes, or did make, Scottish Newcastle used to make brown ale, and I used to work for them as well. So I used to have a monthly allowance of brown ale. Randomly. Don't know if you still get that kind of stuff these days. We used to, every month we used to get like a little a sheet to fill in to say which beers we wanted for our monthly allowance. And at the time as well, my ex-wife worked for the same company, so she used to get her free allowance as well. So we were never short of that. Jacob says, "Is black pudding a blood-based pudding?" Yeah, it's like a blood sausage, mate. And I think it's banned in the States because of what's in it. However, it's certainly not banned in the UK, and it tastes absolutely beautiful. I love it. Hello, George. How you doing, mate? Nice to see you. It was cool to get your message today, mate, as well, just to see what you've been up to, getting a bit of painting done, getting some of that League of Infamy back on the table there after you move. Put a little bit of that into there, I think, just delineate it down there a bit. I've been painting, or it feels like I've been painting really slow tonight, but randomly I feel like I've got quite a bit done, because I rarely finish a model on a paint stream anyway because I talk too much. I'll put a little bit of that purple across the nose of the pig there as well, just to kind of darken that down a touch. Dave says, I've never been to Newcastle. Probably the closest I've been is Scarborough, but always tell people if they go to England, they got to head north. Yeah, you should be working for the tourist industry, mate. Yeah, Scarborough's a nice place as well, to be fair. I quite like Scarborough as a bit of an old English seaside town. But yeah, everyone's friendlier up north. See who disagrees with that now. James says, my mate works for Badger Brewery and he gets beer allowance still. Always good to go to his house. They got it backdated for a year around Easter time. Wow. So when I worked for the brewery, I had a job. I basically first initially started working for the wine side of the brewery, so wines and spirits, and I was the quality manager for a while. And what would happen was, if anybody ever complained about a bottle of wine or complained about sort of bottle of champagne or anything like that, basically any spirits, we would have to get the lot number from the bottle that they would complain about. We'd have to take a case out of the warehouse, open the case up, open one of the bottles of wine and test it to make sure everything was okay. And invariably everything was always fine. Somebody complained about a bottle of wine because basically they don't want to pay for it generally. So, but then what would happen was you couldn't put that case of wine back into storage because it was a part case. So what would happen was it would get shared out between the people who worked in the lab sort of at the end of the week. So I was bringing home loads and loads of bottles of wine and stuff like that, plus getting my free beer allowance as well. And then every now and again they would have like a wine sale where they would sell off like stuff that was getting close to kind of its date and stuff like that. So yeah, I never wanted much for alcohol back then, that's for sure. Everybody else, all my friends and family and stuff used to do all right over it. That's for sure. All right. I need a bit of a darker blue, I think. Let's have a look at that. That Night Lord's blue. I think we'll put a bit of that onto it. Jason says, do you still drink hot tea as often during the summer? Yeah, to be honest, mate, the hot weather in the UK never generally gets that hot, other than we have a little bit of a heat wave now and again. And a hot drink is actually quite refreshing when it's hot, randomly. So yeah, I mean, so I'll still drink hot tea, coffee when it's summer. It's funny because I went to Florida on holiday a few years ago, and I went to Starbucks and bought a cup of coffee, because I like coffee, and it was packed to the Starbucks. But I think I was the only person who bought a hot coffee. Everybody else was getting like iced lattes and sort of frappuccino kind of sort of iced things and stuff. And I got some weird looks asking for a hot coffee in Florida. So, yeah, Tony saying Scar close to your neck of the woods. That's right, mate. Yeah. BGC's got to pack up my paint station for the cleaners today. And George going to finish the Draken tomorrow. Nice choice, mate. Tybreeze is saying, as a Scottish person, I'll say there's a point of diminishing and reducing returns on how friendly people get going north. I would agree as well, mate. I've met some really friendly people in Scotland, and I've met some quite actively aggressive ones. But I never know whether that's a Scottish thing about that particular part of Scotland is just angry people, or are they just angry towards English people? It could be a combination of both, to be honest. We're kind of lucky, basically, being from Newcastle when we go to Scotland. Generally, we're kind of like, we're almost sort of taken under the wing a little bit when it comes to the Scots. I think we're so close to the border that I think they don't necessarily sort of always think about us as English, or certainly not sort of like, not like sort of London English, if you like. I think they realise just how hard done by we are as well, to be fair. Keely Anderson, hello Keely, how are you doing? Says, Evening peeps, just finishing DMing my first game in 3 to 4 years. Feng Shui is such a breath of fresh air. Very nice. Glad to hear it well. VG says, working in nightclubs doing visuals, I rarely have to worry about alcohol, and on the road, I often bring home bottles of vodka from the green room. Connor says, my mum swears by a hot drink on a hot day to cool down. I'm not with that group, unfortunately. Yeah, a lot of people do, mate. A lot of people say a hot drink will cool you down. Jacob says, well said, James. And yeah, Florida can be scorching. I understand the stairs. Nothing like a cuppa when you're sunbathing. Yeah, I just like a cup of coffee. I like a cup of coffee now and then. I've cut right back mine. I haven't had a cup of coffee. Oh, well, I had some when I was at UK Games Expo, but I must admit I've kind of given up drinking coffee at home. I've been drinking green tea, and I've been drinking sort of honey and ginger tea as well. Type Pee says, we used to run past the northeast to sack England. Yeah, that's probably why, mate. We were just kind of helping folks past. I watched a video the other day. There's a guy on YouTube who talks about the history of Scotland, and he was talking about where the borders come from and stuff. And there was a really interesting story about where the border between England and Scotland is. And there's basically this field that's on the English side of the border, but it's Scottish. And what it was that basically there was, I think I'm trying to remember where it was now. It was between two towns. I forget the names. But basically this patch of land was intentionally kind of ring fenced when they had the border drawn between England and Scotland. And every year, the men from the two villages would have a game of this equivalent of football, but it's an old version of football. And whoever won would basically keep that patch of land for the next year kind of thing. It would either go to the Scottish or it would go to the English. And eventually what happened over time was the Scottish town grew bigger and bigger till eventually they just had sort of more sort of young men who would play this game. And basically they won it so often, like so many years in a row, that it just eventually became Scottish permanently. And it's so when you look at the border, it's across the border comes across a river, and there's this field on the English side, which is basically is part of Scotland. It's a really interesting story. Marcus says, I swear painting ghouls is always a little weird since I have to paint their butt cheeks. I felt a bit like that, mate, painting the pig's butt earlier on. Kaylee says, playing the Task Force 88 adventure, we renamed it to Task Force 69 as it's less flashy and more sexy. I like it. Right, what was I going to do now? How are we doing for time? We're doing all right. So, I think we'll get some of those lighter colours that I was talking about. I think we'll start with a bit of Carrick Stone. I'm going to start picking out some of the hairs on the back. So we'll get a little bit of this onto the wet palette. Thin it down a bit. VG says, less flashy, more sexy. Should be GW's new motto. Yeah. They might struggle with some of that. Or the fan base might struggle with some of that, I should say. Or some of the fan base. I shouldn't tar everybody with the same brush. Right. So the plan now is to try my very best to try and just pick out some of these. Make sure my head's not on the screen there. Just pick out some of these little bits just to give it a little bit of depth, make it look a little bit. Let me just pick some of these out. Peter says Task Force 69. They get their nose in other people's business. James is finally back on the 40k content. Well, you did ask for it, mate. I mean, you are a fee-paying Patreon long-term supporter. Thought it was only fair if you're asking for a bit of 40k content, yeah. You should have some. You cheeky fecker. Right. Let's pick some of these bits out here. Tyler says, glad you're still on. I had someone out to look at the stove and dishwasher. I was afraid I'd miss the show. No, I'm just kind of... Sometimes I kind of just come to a bit of a natural end, really, where I've painted as much as I'm going to paint, or I just feel a bit like talking non-stop to yourself. Gets a bit mentally draining as well, to be honest. Sometimes I just kind of run out of steam a bit. But no, tonight I'm just having a nice chill night. I'm having a good week, to be honest. I think it's after having a bit of a break with the family at the weekend, and that I just feel a bit more relaxed, a bit more chilled. It was nice to kind of get back out, and I know, like, obviously the whole COVID thing's not over yet, but it was nice to start to feel a bit more like old times and a bit more normal. Sort of going out for a meal on holiday and going for a few drinks, and sort of we went to the pleasure beach and kind of went on the rides and things like that, and it's just starting to feel a bit more normal again. I think I'm getting back to my old self. VG says, glad to hear you're on the green tea bandwagon. Have to say, swapping fizzy drinks for green tea. Do you know what it is, mate? I've noticed as well, I've been getting a bit bloated, a bit kind of like sort of, my stomach was getting a bit bloated, so I've started basically, not fast, well, it is fasting technically, but basically what I'm doing is I'm having my evening meal a bit earlier, so we're all kind of like sitting down as a family about sort of like 5 or 6 o'clock and eating together, because me and my wife used to eat once the little one went to bed. So we're eating a bit earlier, and then I'm basically not having any fizzy drinks or anything, although I'm having a beer tonight, to be fair. But I'm not having any fizzy drinks, I'm not having any sort of snacks or anything like that on an evening. And then I've basically been skipping breakfast and just waiting until lunchtime. So essentially I'm kind of fasting for about like 16, 18 hours, but more just by the fact that I'm asleep for most of it. And that's really kind of the difference that's made to feeling kind of like a bit sluggish and a bit bloated has been amazing. So yeah, it's funny, the little things as you get a bit older, it'll come to all of you if you're not my age. All like the things you have to do that just to kind of keep on top of your health and stuff. The stuff that you would just shrug off when you were a bit younger starts to kind of catch up with you when you get a bit older. Jacob says, oh man, I was dying laughing at the end of Monday's stream. Keely says, the first time I've ever seen fur highlighted without a dry brush. I normally always highlight with a dry brush as well, to be honest, Keely, but I think with this, it kind of lends itself better to just almost like more sort of comic book styling to it, as opposed to trying to make it look blended and realistic. I want it to stand out, really. So, and I want to try and give it a bit of a feeling of depth to it. I wanted the darker stuff in the background to just kind of show through, and I think if I end up dry brushing it, I'll probably end up losing a lot of that. So right, that's that bit done. I'm just gonna pick up just some of the tips on the belt there a little bit. Made a little bit like scratches on the leather. Right, it looks like they've got straw hanging out the sides of there, so I think we'll just get a little bit of the yellow. This could be a bit too bright, but we'll work with it. We'll work with it. VJ saying, yeah, I normally don't eat 6 till 10. Yeah, to be honest, mate, I went through a phase of eating my meals quite late, kind of like 9, half 9 by the time the little one went to sleep. And it's I found I was basically just going to bed quite full, and feeling really bloated. So yeah, I just thought I'd try something a bit different. Jim saying, night all. Stick a pic on Discord. I will do, mate, once we're done. Thanks for coming in, buddy. You mean a sticker pig? Right. Pick up some of those bits of straw hanging out there. Some bits on the back of there as well, where the boot is. Right. Not looking too bad. Not looking too bad. We need to do a little bit more with the greens now, I think. We'll get this lighter green, highlight some of that up. VG says, the older I get, the more I realise my health is something worth working on. Yeah, you kind of feel indestructible when you're younger. I'm starting to feel my age now, that's for sure. Taking the time and making an effort, 100%, mate, yeah. I just... touch. Back on the screen as well. I've been watching some of Weird's streams with their new painting streamers, and I've noticed that it's not just me who keeps wandering off the camera. They do it as well, so it doesn't matter how good a painter you are. Doesn't mean you're going to keep it on the camera. I'll tell you what I also noticed as well. I notice the silences when I'm watching another streamer, because I mean it's good for me to watch other people doing live streams and stuff, so I can see and try and learn from it and see if there's any bits that they do better than I do that I can learn from and things. But I'm really noticing the silences. I don't know how much like silences that I leave, like gaps and stuff like that, but I'm really noticing a lot of streamers who like almost just kind of disappear for a little bit, and then granted they might not be streaming to many people yet, but you have to stream exactly the same if you're streaming to nobody as you do if you're streaming to 100 people. Like you have to make it interesting, so when somebody switches a stream on, like there's conversation and stuff. Case I was indestructible when I was younger. Was that all the jokes talking? Probably. Right. Let's kind of lighten that up a little bit. Do something a little bit with that. Feels wrong there. It's weird, she's got kind of, oh, they're meant to be her cheeks, I think. Let's see, she's got kind of like lumpy cheeks. Do something with the eyes as well at some point, but I think the eyes is a off-camera job, I think. Don't want to be doing them. Right, I've not used a wash all night, but I am going to put an Agrax wash over that whip because there's loads of texture to it, and I want to try and pick out the texture on that whip. So we'll do that, and it gives me something to focus on. And I come and kind of try and highlight it up a little bit. Cool. So what's folks got planned for the rest of the week then? Have you got any plans this weekend? Anything that you're doing? I'm actually going away again this weekend randomly. So I'm taking one of my two oldest boys away as a bit of a celebration weekend for getting these A levels. So my son Sam passed the A levels that he needed to pass and got the results he needed to get into Durham University to study law. So he's going there. So I'm super proud of him. And my other son, so I'm taking Sam away this weekend for a few nights, a bit of a boys' weekend. And my other son, Adam, also did amazingly well in his exams. Got a couple of A stars in his A levels, and I think it was a B or a C for his other one. And he got what he needed as well to get into Northumbria University. But he's not much of a, it's not really a party animal, that one. So I've booked to take him away in October, and we're going to go down to Thorpe Park for the horror night things that they have. What they called the Fright Nights, the Thorpe Park Fright Nights. We've booked to stay down there and go to Thorpe Park during the day on the rides and stuff, and then go around the horror night stuff on the night time, the two of us. So that's more up his street rather than a few days in the pubs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to them. So those are the little the kind of the well dones for passing their A levels. So I'm looking forward to that. Spend some time with the boys. Peter saying, yeah, I'll wake up in Crete on Saturday, so yeah, I'll have a good one. Nice one, mate. Katie says, Necromunda on Friday, painting Marvel on Saturday. It sounds like you've got a good weekend planned as well. VJ says, yes, super congrats to the boys' results. I'm sure getting those 2 degrees can't be easy. I tell you what, mate, I think just the fact that they've managed to kind of get through the last sort of 18 months of the whole pandemic thing and sort of doing it from home, and like one of my lads is not the, like, they're both super intelligent, which is, I think, basically what's kind of got them through it. But he's a bit lazy. And to be honest, I'm amazed. He was basically just, he was messing about when the lockdown was on the first time and stuff, and left himself a whole load of work to do. But fair play to him, right the way through last year's 6 weeks holidays, he absolutely grafted and put the work in and caught himself up again. And I feel sorry for them, you know, with like all the stuff they've been through, not really getting the education that they should have had, really, because of all the lockdowns and stuff. But yeah, they've done well. JT Brinton says, doesn't have to worry about the convention prep now. Yeah, he's going to be getting back to painting more Legion stuff. And Fisher says, sounds like they take after their mum. Cheeky bugger. Yeah, to be fair, she's pretty bright as well. So they get their street smart from their dad. That's where it is. They get their book smart from their mother. So that's starting to come together. I'm actually pretty pleased with how this has turned out tonight. I just think it's looking all right. Need to do some work around the. I mean, it's not nearly finished yet, but we've got to do a little bit of work around the feathers and stuff. The clothing still needs doing. We need a bit more highlighting and shading, I think, on the skin. We need to do the base as well, but I think, what was it, 20 or 11? BG's street smart, says the guy painting miniatures on the internet for a living. Fair dues, mate. Fair dues. I like to think I'm a bit more streetwise than I appear to be. I tell you what, it's times like this when you know who your friends are. Right, we'll highlight up them tusks. It's a good job we're friends, mate. I'd hate to think what you would say if we were enemies. Oh. Right, we'll highlight up those tusks. So yeah, the plan was like I didn't really get a chance. I always planned to take them away for their 18th birthday to kind of go abroad and sort of, go to Spain for like a long weekend or something like that, and have a bit of a party weekend with them when they were 18. And then obviously that never happened. So yeah, this is kind of like to try and make up for that a little bit as well. So a bit of a combination of kind of well done for their exams and stuff. But I thought the better thing to do was to do something with them separately, because like with them being twins, they're so used to having to do stuff together all the time. And actually it's quite nice to spend some time with them separately. They've got different interests. They've got completely different things that they want to do and what their idea of fun. So yeah, it's going to be nice just having a sort of spending some time with them separately, doing different things. She says, "Love you, mate. Just doing. I know you are, bud." Teddy Brendan says, "I can't believe I actually missed painting, and I'm excited to get back into it." Nice one. Peter says, "I never say a thing like that. Then I often don't say what I'm thinking." Martin says, "I will agree. Andy is smart street. On the other hand, Andy is no gangster. If you saw where I grew up, mate, I'll tell you what, it was a bit rough." So I certainly know my way around a few places, put it that way. And I know where I should go and where I shouldn't go. That's for sure. I wouldn't say I was a gangster by any stretch, but I know what I need to know. Put it that way. Right, we need a bit of a grey blue. I think we'll try a bit of that Hoth blue, and we are gonna do a bit of dry brushing for this, because wow, a paint I haven't opened. There you go. I knew I bought it for a reason. We're going to dry brush. I really want to use that one. This one might be better. So just to kind of put some texture to the denim. So a tip I've learned as well, and I don't think I ever realised this, is that your dry brush should never really be dry. Visually, yeah, it's great you acknowledge their difference. It seems that some parents of twins don't often take the time to do that. I just think kind of like, especially after kind of sort of Adam's diagnosis and stuff of his conditions and stuff, I think I'm just more kind of conscious of that. They just like doing different stuff, like things that Adam wants to do, not what Sam wants to do. Like Sam would quite happily go to the football match and go for a few beers, where Adam would probably rather just kind of sort of go for a coffee and chat about video games and stuff like that. Like, they're just different. He's not into his sport so much. He likes his music. He'd rather go and see a band than go to the football match, put it that way. So like, why force them to have a weekend together to just do something that at any given time one of them is not really doing what they want to do, kind of thing. Kaylee says, nothing like growing up a part of the country where people get pool cues cracked around their head to give you street smart. See, that's it. I don't have to be a gangster to have lived somewhere rough and kind of like know what it's about. Just because I got out of there. Vijay says, do either of them play an instrument? Yeah, they do, mate, actually. They both play the guitar. They played it to a fairly decent level as well, to be fair. They've had guitar lessons since they were about 8. And have no aspirations of ever kind of sort of joining a band or anything like that. Probably a little bit shy to kind of play in front of people, but they play at home and stuff. And Sam's got quite a nice sort of collection of guitars, what he's saved up for over the years, and he's got a custom Les Paul that he basically kind of saved all of his money up that he wanted this particular one. And to be fair to the lad, he saved up and he got it at it's more than I would have ever spent on a guitar, but he got exactly what he wanted and stuff. So yeah, they play guitar, mate. Type B says, singing a band instead of football, coffee and video games. Are you sure he's not mine? I'll have a word with his mother, mate. You never know. But yeah, they're just like I'm not saying kind of like one's like sort of sport or music or whatever. I'm not saying one's a better choice than the other or anything like that. But I'm kind of expressing the point that they both enjoy completely separate things. Don't get me wrong, Sam likes to go to live music and stuff. Like they've been to Download Festival and stuff like that, and they went together for that. Peter says, streetwise can be just as much knowing which of the buggers not to offend. That's pretty much it, mate. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It certainly was where I grew up anyway. Right. Just make sure that's still on camera there as well. I'm just going to highlight up. Yes, I am painting the left tit of a gremlin. I can't say I've ever said that before. I can't say I ever want to say that again. But yeah, that's what it's boiled down to this evening. This is where my career has ended up. Drowned Lord, yeah. I think the year they went, the weather was fantastic. I think Guns N' Roses were the headliners that year that they went. Yeah, they had a great time. Mark says I need to get back to playing my violin. I better rent a soundproof room. The first couple of days sounded crap. I used to play the viola when I was at school, and I went to do like an exam thing, like a music exam, and the examiner said, "Thank you very much for that. Have you ever considered trying the drums? Would you like to get drum lessons instead?" So I took that as a bit of a hint. I was never meant to be a violin player or a viola player. So I've never really been that kind of musical myself. But yeah, they're pretty good. It's quite nice, just like every now and again they'll kind of just like sit in the bedroom playing the guitar, and it's quite nice to just kind of like listen through the wall and hear the music. But as soon as you ask them to play anything, it's like, no, it's all right. Tybee said, I've got a Gibson Les Paul, but mine's a cheap tribute one because I'm poor. I tell you what, mate, I can't remember. Why is that? Sometimes the motor in that lens sometimes clicks away. I can't remember how much he spent on it, but he saved up forever for it. And I think he had to wait he must have waited 9 or 10 months for it to be delivered as well by the time, like, for it to be made. I'll see if I can get some pictures of it and show you, mate. I can see the conversation now. Is one of them not mine? Answer, you know they're twins, right? Katie says, haven't been there since 2010 and I pissed it down, never again. Yeah, Vijay says, always the right to have trouble with. There you go. The things we talk about on these streams. There hasn't been as much bacon chat tonight, but we have talked about a gremlin's tit. So there you go. Right. I think we're getting somewhere here. I need to do something with that eye, I think. I'll just put a bit of blue in it for now, just to... Put a bit of, just to darken it out a little bit. And we'll come back and we'll shape it up afterwards. FNM 2009 was literally the best gig ever. I'm trying to think what that is now. FNM. Faith No More. Ah, yeah, Faith No More. Connor says, I saw Guns N' Roses a few years ago, 2015. Axl spent most time off stage huffing oxygen. Guns N' Roses were my first ever gig. I went to see Guns N' Roses when I was 16 on the Use Your Illusion tour. It was back in 1992. There you go. Let's go back some time. Kaylee says, to be honest, most drummers aren't music like that. That's probably why she suggested it. Chrono Trigger. Chrono Cross is the sequel, is the squeal game. George is saying, I haven't played my violin for about 35 years. Wow. Kaylee, I miss bacon. Veggie bacon just isn't the same. So what does veggie bacon taste like? Like, I mean, is it meant to taste like bacon, or is it just meant to sort of be a bacon replacement and it tastes like something completely different? Free says, can you imagine someone running the stream for the first time with no context? They probably think, well, a bit strange. I would say the numbers have gone down a bit, mate, but there you go. BG says, still waiting for Faith No More concert. It's supposed to be May 2020. Concert he came off and Here's My Drum. I watched him do a 5-minute solo. That sounds like Axl Rose, to be fair. Chizzy Brown says, yeah, surprisingly there wasn't more bacon chat, giving you a paint in the pig. Peter says, my first gig was the Sweet Ballroom Blitz. Oh, wow. There you go, mate. Chrono Trigger has his favourite game, and Tybee is in veggie bacon tastes like bacon crisps. So it's like bacon flavoured. It's weird. Right, I think I'm going to call that a night there, folks. I think I've kind of reached the point where I want to kind of do the eyes, but I want to obviously have fresh eyes when I'm doing that kind of stuff. And then I think I want to just kind of come back to it, like revisit it, I think, after a bit of time. So what I'll do is I'll take a picture of this and I'll pop it in the Patreon chat for those that are in there, and you can kind of see it in its less pink form. And for the rest of you, let's just kind of have a drink of my beer. See, I told you didn't have over 3/4 left. There must be that much left at least. There must still be that much left. So anyway, that's not going to get drunk tonight, let's be honest. Tyler says, we've got to get these likes up. We had over 100 the other night. The painting streams are always a little bit quieter. I don't really mind so much. But 43 is not bad. We've still got 30 people in the chat now. That's not naked Thursday, maybe. It's not a chance. Not if I want to get to sleep after this. So anyway, folks, what I will say is thank you so much for all of your kind words this week, all of your donations, your support. It's been a good week. Like I say, I had that kind of little break with the family. God, I pulled the neck on this, haven't I? I had that little break with the family. I kind of felt like I come back a little bit kind of refreshed this week, I think. I've obviously been really busy looking after the little one, like with the school holidays and stuff. So videos have been a bit short on the ground, and I apologise for that. But I will get back to that once he gets back to school as normal, which is not too long now, to be fair. But yeah, I'll just thank you. It's been a good week. So take care, folks. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. No doubt I'll speak to you around the Facebook groups and certainly in the Patreon chat as well. And take care. And I'll see you on Monday. Thanks, folks. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.